A friend once looked at the date on his phone and suddenly said, "Oh, it's my birthday today." Then he shrugged and went back to answering emails. No cake, no post, no celebration, just another ordinary day moving forward. Most people don't understand that moment. Birthdays are supposed to feel big, right? Messages, calls, maybe a small party. But for some people, the day arrives quietly and passes just as quietly. I've noticed something similar in my own life. The older I get, the less the day itself seems to matter. It isn't sadness, it isn't bitterness, it's something harder to explain. Psychologist Carl Rogers once wrote, "The curious paradox is that when I accept myself just as I am, then I can change." Carl Rogers, On Becoming a Person, 1961. His words point to a powerful psychological truth. People who feel grounded in themselves often stop needing certain forms of external recognition. So when someone treats their birthday like any other day, what is really happening inside their mind? Is it emotional independence, quiet reflection, or something deeper about how they see themselves and the passage of time? Because sometimes the absence of celebration isn't emptiness at all. Sometimes it's a sign that a person has begun measuring life in a completely different way. And that raises a deeper psychological question worth exploring. For some people, the strange feeling about birthdays begins with attention. Not the kind that feels warm or natural, but the kind that suddenly places you in the middle of the room while everyone watches. You can see it in small moments. Someone sings to them at a restaurant and they laugh awkwardly, eyes looking down. Friends post birthday wishes online and they quietly reply, "Thank you," but never repost anything themselves. The attention feels heavy rather than joyful. Psychologically, this reaction often appears in people who are naturally more introspective or emotionally private. They are not antisocial. They simply prefer connection that feels genuine rather than performative. The psychologist Susan Cain, known for her work on introversion, wrote, "There's zero correlation between being the best talker and having the best ideas." Susan Cain, Quiet, The Power of Introverts in a World That Can't Stop Talking, 2012. Her insight reflects something important. Many thoughtful people feel most comfortable outside the spotlight. When attention becomes loud, their mind quietly steps back instead of leaning in. A birthday can amplify that spotlight. Suddenly the day carries expectations. React happily, respond warmly, appear excited. But for someone who values emotional authenticity, this can feel like acting in a small social performance. So rather than rejecting celebration entirely, they simply lower the volume of the moment. And once the need for attention fades, another psychological shift slowly begins to take its place. Once attention stops feeling important, another deeper question quietly emerges. How much of our value depends on being recognized by others? Birthdays are often built around that idea. Messages appear, notifications light up. People count how many friends remembered. For many, these small signals become emotional proof. I matter because people noticed me today. But for some people, something changes over time. They stop measuring their worth through reminders from the outside world. Instead, they begin measuring it through quieter things. How they treat others, whether they are growing, whether they are living in alignment with their values. Psychologist William James once wrote a famous line about self-esteem. Self-esteem equals success divided by pretensions. William James, The Principles of Psychology, 1890. In simple terms, the more we rely on external validation to meet our expectations, the more fragile our self-worth becomes. But when expectations shift inward, toward personal meaning rather than recognitions, self-worth becomes more stable. You can see this in everyday behavior. Someone wakes up on their birthday, goes to work, answers messages calmly, maybe buys themselves a small coffee. No announcement, no disappointment if fewer people remember. The day still matters, but it no longer defines how they feel about themselves. And this quiet independence rarely appears suddenly. It usually grows from experiences that slowly reshape how a person understands celebration, time, and the story of their own life. For many people, this attitude toward birthdays doesn't appear overnight. It grows slowly, shaped by experiences that quietly change how they see time and what really deserves celebration. Think about how birthdays feel when we are children. Every year seems enormous. The cake matters, the candles matter, the attention feels magical. But life has a way of rearranging those priorities. Someone might go through a difficult year, losing a job, ending a relationship, caring for a sick parent. When you've spent months navigating real emotional storms, the idea of celebrating a single day can begin to feel strangely small. Psychologist Viktor Frankl once wrote, "When we are no longer able to change a situation, we are challenged to change ourselves." Viktor Frankl, Man's Search for Meaning, 1946. Life experiences often do exactly that. They reshape how we define meaning. A birthday used to symbolize excitement, but after enough life lessons, it can start to symbolize reflection instead. Instead of asking, "How should I celebrate today?" the mind asks something quieter and deeper. What kind of person am I becoming? You might notice it in small ways. Someone takes a walk alone on their birthday. They think about the year that passed. They remember mistakes, growth, and unexpected changes. The celebration moves inward, and once birthdays begin to feel like private checkpoints rather than public events, another psychological pattern often appears alongside it. Some personalities naturally lean toward reflection more than excitement. For them, birthdays feel less like a party and more like a pause button. While others focus on gifts or social plans, their mind begins wandering through memories. What did this year teach me? What did I handle well? What still needs healing? Psychology often links this habit to high levels of self-reflection and emotional awareness. These individuals don't experience time only as passing days. They experience it as a narrative unfolding. Carl Jung once wrote, "Who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakes." Carl Jung collected works of C.G. Jung. That idea captures something essential. When people become comfortable looking inward, certain external rituals naturally lose their emotional urgency. A birthday becomes less about marking age and more about understanding change. You might see it in ordinary situations. Someone sits quietly in the evening on their birthday, maybe journaling, maybe just thinking. No dramatic moment, just awareness of how much life can transform a person over a year. For them, celebration is not the candles on the cake. It is the realization that they are not the same person they were 12 months ago. And when reflection begins to carry more meaning than recognition, a new kind of emotional strength slowly starts to develop. As reflection deepens, another subtle shift often takes place. Emotional independence. Not the cold kind where someone pushes people away, but the calm kind where a person's sense of worth no longer depends on constant reassurance. You can see it in simple everyday moments. Someone receives a few birthday messages and smiles, but their mood doesn't rise or fall depending on how many appear. If the phone stays quiet for hours, they don't spiral into disappointment. The day continues normally. Psychologically, this reflects what researchers call internal stability. Instead of looking outward for proof that they matter, the person has already built a quieter foundation inside. Psychologist Abraham Maslow described this mindset when studying self-actualized individuals. He wrote, "The more self-actualizing people become, the more they are able to be autonomous." Abraham Maslow, Motivation and Personality, 1954. Autonomy here doesn't mean isolation, it means emotional grounding. A person enjoys appreciation, but they are not emotionally dependent on it. Over time, life teaches this lesson gently. Attention comes and goes. Some years many people remember your birthday, other years only a few do. But the core question becomes less about who remembered and more about whether you are living in a way that feels meaningful to you. And once a person reaches that point, birthdays begin to lose their symbolic power because life itself starts to feel like the real celebration. At the deepest level, some people stop emphasizing birthdays because they no longer need a single day to remind them that life matters. Their attention has shifted toward ordinary moments, a peaceful morning coffee, a meaningful conversation with a friend, finishing a difficult project, walking home at sunset after a long day and feeling quietly proud of how far they've come. Positive psychology researcher Martin Seligman once described well-being as something built through everyday engagement and meaning. not occasional moments of pleasure. In Flourish 2011, he explained that lasting fulfillment grows from purpose, relationships, and personal progress rather than isolated celebrations. When someone internalizes this idea, life stops feeling like a series of highlighted days. Instead, it becomes a continuous story made up of small, meaningful moments. So a birthday arrives, and nothing dramatic happens. The person wakes up, lives their day, maybe reflects for a moment, and that is enough. Not because the day is unimportant, but because the meaning of life has already spread into the days around it. And when that shift occurs, the question from the beginning of this journey finally finds its answer. At first glance, someone who treats their birthday like a normal day can seem distant from celebration. Friends may wonder if something is missing: excitement, gratitude, joy. But psychology suggests a different possibility. Sometimes the quietest birthdays belong to people who have slowly built a deeper relationship with themselves. They are less dependent on attention, more comfortable with reflection, and more grounded in the everyday meaning of their lives. The tension we started with, why someone wouldn't celebrate a day meant to honor them, turns out to reveal something unexpected. For some people, life itself has already become the celebration. When meaning is found in ordinary mornings, in growth across years, and in the quiet knowledge of who you are becoming, one symbolic day no longer needs to carry the weight of happiness. So they wake up on their birthday, breathe in the day like any other, and continue living their life. And in a quiet, almost invisible way, that may be one of the strongest signs of emotional maturity there is.